Each year, tens of thousands of couples seek marital therapy, hoping that that will be the key to saving their marriage. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. In fact, often marital therapy can actually undo the progress that you might be making and may actually cause you to move closer to divorce rather than away from divorce. And I want to talk with you about why that's the case and what you can do to get around that. So join me with some of this information that I can share with you. So we want to talk about why marriage therapy can be dangerous to your marriage and what the experts really don't want you to know. Each year, tens of thousands of couples seek marriage counseling hoping to save their marriages, and most will find it unhelpful, some will find it hurtful, and few will benefit. Half will still divorce. These are the statistics about marriage therapy that you may not have heard about. Of the couples attending therapy, half will end up divorced, which means they're no different than the general population, where about 50% of marriages end in divorce. So even those attending therapy have the same statistics. In fact, 75% of people who go to marital therapy say they have no measurable change in their relationship, and only 10 to 15% will report any positive change. Imagine a doctor saying to you that you need this procedure and there are some risks. There is a 50% probability that you will die. If you survive, there is a 10 to 15% chance that your condition will improve. And I would ask you, would you sign up for that? I would not. Here's the problem. This is why this is the issue. Most marriage therapists are actually trained in individual therapy models. They say they're marriage therapists, but they've actually been trained in all their training as individual therapists. And the reason that is a problem is because their goal is the happiness and the life satisfaction of the individual, not of the marriage. Many don't even have any training in marital therapy. It just happened that they had some couples who came to see them and they marketed themselves as marital therapists. There's no requirement for someone who says they're a marriage therapist to actually have training in marital therapy. And most want to be helpful, but they don't know how. This is not that they're out to be malicious, they just don't know what to do. Now, those that are trained in marital therapy work from the standpoint that the problem is communication. This is an age-old part of training as marital therapists. It's about communication because we're still working kind of from an individual model. Now we've added another person, so the issue must be about the communication between the two. Few couples really have communication as the root issue. Very few couples have that as the real issue. And learning communication skills, in my opinion, only makes you better at fighting. It just makes you more effective in your communication and unfortunately, in your arguing. Now, that doesn't mean that there's nothing that can be done. There are some good therapists out there. There are some good marital therapists out there. And here's a quick assessment for you. If you will ask the therapist that you're talking to, who is your client? If they give you any answer other than a variation on their client is your relationship, it's time to move on. In other words, a marital therapist should look at the situation as the relationship is what they're working on. It's not one or the other of you or communication or whatever. It's your relationship. That's one way to get a good, quick assessment to even see if their brain, their mind, is on the right target. And there are approaches that can help, that can get to the real issue. Now, the real issue is that perceptions of each other that are built on years of hurts and pains. In other words, we misperceive each other. And in fact, I have the theory that we co-create how we view each other and co-create how we live with each other. And that's the real issue. And to put it more bluntly, we're not creating a sense of connection, of being a team, of being a we. And in order to have success in a marriage, you have to create that sense of connection. You have to change the perceptions of each other, and you have to start with that by building that sense of being a we. And there are alternatives, and there are alternatives that don't make your spouse defensive and resistant. I've had people say, oh, my spouse won't go to therapy, and so it's all lost. And sometimes I think the real problem is trying to get a spouse who doesn't want to go to therapy dragged in a therapy office because they become defensive and they become resistant and they really dig their heels in and they don't make any change. And there are alternatives that do make lasting changes to your relationship, not just cosmetic changes that sometimes happen when we're in the midst of a panic, but real, honest-to-goodness changes to your relationship. And these are alternatives that can save your marriage. If you're interested in this, I want you to do right now is just keep reading. Keep reading the material that's below so that you can understand ways that you can save your marriage, and you can save your marriage starting right now.